Thanks so much for tuning in. This will be the October 2025 both council briefing and regular meeting update. I didn't make a video last week. It was unintentional, to be perfectly honest, but that means this video is going to be a little bit longer. However, I think it still will be shorter than if I had made two because there's so much overlapping information. Going forward, I'm not sure how I'm going to handle it. I'm not sure how productive it is to have two videos 2 weeks in a row with a lot of the same content. A lot of this stuff is not super time sensitive in terms of if I wait a week for the council meeting, I don't think you're going to miss a whole lot. So I'm considering those things. Things are ever evolving, and we'll see how it goes. But the videos are certainly continuing. This one's going to be audio only. It's another kind of effort and change I make to try to provide the best quality I can. Doing video and audio. I do have to kind of sacrifice a little bit on quality of both. I don't think there's anything in the video side that is very helpful. So I'm going to see how this audio only turns out, and then we'll take it from there. So I'll jump right into it. There were 4 items from the council briefing last week that we either did not talk about or didn't pertain to the regular meeting. I'm going to address those first. And then again, everything else from the council briefing last week was addressed again in the regular meeting. So we'll get into it. So the first item was 101 Gilbo Road. Those of you who are familiar with that area, that is a blighted property. We are going to go through the condemnation process. It's a long legal process. We have our attorney and Mr. Cooney Richard, who's our building inspector, who's going to work on that. It starts with simply reaching out to the family and the property owners and seeing if they can remedy the situation. Obviously, that's everyone's best interest to get them to do that, either to bring it up into compliance or to demolish it. I'll be honest, in this case, I don't think there's any chance to bring it up to code, but we'll give them the opportunity to remedy it. And then if they're not able or are not willing for whatever reason, we will demolish it and place a lien on the property. So that process is happening. Again, long legal process. The next thing is Saddle Creek subdivision. That is the subdivision, the new subdivision off of Mall Street Extension. The developer came to us. He had an unexpected problem that came up. His designs were based on markings that were done by LUS. So LUS has a water line there. Once they came back and actually marked it, not based off of GPS, but based off of the wire that's on top of the pipe. It was actually in his ditch, and so he is not able, I believe, to close in the ditch there and do the things that he needs to do. So we're still looking at it. He still needed some more information. I think we will work with him. I think it's no fault of his. I did say, I think very directly at the meeting that I think this is LUS's problem. And LUS is a great partner. I have nothing against LUS. They work with us very, very well, but they made a mistake in marking. And so I don't know why we need to change our codes and our expectations because of a mistake they made. This developer has been a good partner in terms of he has come to the council multiple times with plans and he has followed all the steps. And so I don't know that he should be penalized for something that is not his. And basically what we're talking about is not closing in a ditch that does not even tie into his property. It doesn't tie in at all to any of his drainage plans. It is purely cosmetic. So we'll see what happens, but I think we'll work with him if he can't get anything else accomplished. Next, I think a little more contentious was Ami Drive. And so, again, for those familiar with that area, Ami Drive on the north side of Ami has or had multiple trailers over the years. Typically, they were older in terms of their years. And we've worked with at least 2 other property owners since in the short time that I've been on the council. Those people have wanted to move trailers off and move new ones in to try to bring that property kind of up, and rejuvenate that property because those trailers were quite old. We worked with them. We had given them a 1-year grace period that they could move off the trailers. Within 1 year, move in new trailers that were in compliance, and they would be good to go. That did not happen. And so now there's what I'm going to call a third owner who sent his attorney to talk to us, which I always think is a probably a bad foot to start on. This attorney was very nice, very professional. He had his documentation together, and his basic point is that they I don't want to speak for them, but they should be grandfathered in, is how I interpreted his message. But his real request was that he had submitted a permit request to the city of Carencro to put the trailers there, and he has not heard back. What his steps forward will be if that permit is denied. Obviously, I don't know. I'm sure he has a plan. So it's my firm belief that trailers cannot go back there because they are outside of the grandfather time. We have a trailer park ordinance that lists you can have a trailer in the city of Carencro. That's perfectly legal, except for a few streets downtown. They just have to have a certain amount of distance between property lines and other buildings. So and they have to be a certain amount of years old. There are some stipulations, but you can put a trailer in the city of Carencro. You also can have a trailer park, but those requirements are quite steep. You have to have a lot of requirements met, and based on the size of that property, I don't think he could ever meet the requirements. It's just not a big enough piece to do all the things he needs to do. And so I think I can't speak for the mayor, but at this point, it's an administrative decision. He has submitted a permit request to place trailers. The mayor needs to respond to that request, and I'm certain she will. I think, based off of my knowledge, that request will need to be denied, and then this attorney and property owner can make their next steps. They can appeal to the council. I think the council is very clear that we're not granting a permit. And then we can go from there. If he believes that he has a legal case, then he'll have to pursue that in whatever way he wishes. But I'm hopeful to see development on that property, residential development. It just needs to be in conformity with the codes, and those codes have a reason. It's to protect the life, safety, and property value of the neighbors in our community. It's not arbitrary. It's there for a very specific reason. So more to come, but I don't think this is the last you will hear of Ami Drive. The next item is what I'm calling the pay scale. I'm going to be intentionally very brief on this. We are working on a pay scale for all city employees. Chief David Anderson has worked on it for his people, and I have been involved with many others working on it for the municipal employees, not the fire department. And the reason is this: the fire department is already mandated by the state to receive a 2% increase a year. That is a state law. We don't have a choice. Of course, we want to give them that, and we certainly can give them more, but they're being excluded for that reason. So this is talking about the streets and gas and water and administrative people. And so that's a work in progress. It's a pay scale. I mean, if you've ever seen any pay scale, it's no different. You receive increases based on time served, and you receive increases based on moving up the ladder. And so that's the basics of it. There's a million details, as always, that we're working out. How that shakes out, I don't know yet, but I'm certain that our first priority is the employees, and I firmly believe that if we take care of our employees, we hire good quality employees, our citizens will benefit from that. So more to come. We're working on it. I've spent a lot of hours on that pay scale, again, as many other people have. I'm proud of where it's at, but I do still think we have a few pieces left that we need to make sure, because this is people's livelihood. This is potentially a lot of money over a long period of time. And so before we simply ram it through the council, we need to make sure all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And I think we'll do that. So, and look, I appreciate the mayor and the council and the employees who've all had input and been willing to listen and been willing to work with us. Everybody has an opinion. There's no 100% right answer. We're trying to find the best middle ground for everybody, and the process is working. So I'm proud of it. I'm looking forward to bring it in complete form to the council soon, but we'll see what happens. Moving on to the meeting, we heard from Superintendent Mr. Francis Touchette, gave us a great update on Carencro schools. Things are going great there. Mr. Brian Tabor talked about some millage renewals. I've talked about this before. I'll beg you to vote yes for a millage renewal. There's no new tax, and no rededication. That sometimes even scares people. This is a continuation of a previous tax. It funds lots of great things that I've talked about before. Most pertinent to me, as a Carencro resident, animal control is funded through that, and that is a service that our citizens in the city limits use. And it funds fire protection, which the Carencro Fire Department, which is the city fire department, contracts with the parish, which I'll talk about in a minute, and then we're reimbursed. And some of that money comes from this millage. There are some other great things. I think Mosquito Springs in here, and there's a lot of things for the parish that are really, really good. But pertinent to the city, there are some important things. I'd ask that you please consider voting yes to continue that millage. We then passed the regular meeting minutes and the financial reports. I'll tell you the sales tax income continues to be good. I'm not going to say that it's excellent or extraordinary, but it's good. It's higher than we had budgeted at this time last year, and it continues to be on pace for us to feel safe about budgeting a little more in tax revenue for next year. Lots of more budget talk coming up. I'm not going to get into it yet, but just know that the tax revenue is good and it is stable. We got into some monthly reports. Buster Broussard gave us a water and sewer update. They really do a lot of work. They did lots and lots of work orders, lots of GPS locators, lots of sewer work. I think 260 maybe sewer work orders. Treated about 19 million gallons of sewer, 27 million gallons of water this year. I think the most important thing with his continues to be the Cody construction, which is the sewer lift stations. The bond company, Cody, continues to be non-responsive. I said again at this meeting, I've said many, many times, I believe the course of action is to file suit. The actual work that is left is minimal. I believe there's a ladder that needs to be installed, maybe some coating over some sidewalks. That's not my concern at all. The station is actually up and running. Cody Construction owes the citizens of Carencro $230,000 or $40,000. That is real money that is owed to the city of Carencro. If we had faulted on the contract and made a mistake, you can be sure somebody would come and get that money. That's $250,000 that belongs to the citizens of Carencro. And when I'm done with this with this video, I'm going to follow up with an email to ensure that we're moving forward with the legal process to recoup the money that rightfully belongs to the citizens of Carencro. Again, it's about $250,000 and it's ours. He has a bond company. That is what the bond company is for, to secure that amount. Look, I don't know what happens in the legal process. I'm not an attorney. I'm sure that'll get worked down to some smaller number, but there is some dollar amount that belongs to us that I want to get, and I am not going to stop pushing this issue until I find out that the citizens were made as whole as possible. So, more to come. We heard from Streets and Gas Supervisor Mr. Seth Darbone. Things are going well there. They're continuing to work, lots of road work. The big thing they've been doing right now, his guys do a lot of grass cutting in the summer. And at this time of year, obviously, it's dry and cooling off, and that starts to slow down. And so they really start to turn to ditch digging and tree trimming. They've trimmed a lot of trees. I've seen multiple areas where they've been trimming. Looks really good. And they're digging some ditches. So, going well. Good report from him. We heard from Park. So again, for those of you who don't know, the concession stand at Pelican Park is open, going great. Pelican Park is really, really booked up, and things are going well. I did ask a few questions because they're starting to book into 2026. We've had some issues many, many years back with people booking far in advance just to hold the weekends and then canceling it if they didn't get enough teams to come play the tournament. I wanted to be sure there were some safeguards in place that happened, and there are. There are some fines or fees or whatever it is that are in place. So things are really going good at Park. We heard from Mr. Mike Woodall at the sports complex. Things are going great there. Homeschool PE, lots of rentals. They did have, please pay attention to all the social media. They just had a farmers market that was very successful. They're going to continue to have those for now at Carencro Park, and lots of events happening. There's a Mommy and Me stroll that happens at Pelican Park, and that's on Tuesdays. Let me know if you want more information, but that's for moms to go out with their kids and feel safe and walk in a group and have some sense of community. Got a beautiful walking trail there, and more things are being added. So unfortunately, I'm recording this on Thursday, and so our last Macro D was yesterday. Also, starting in November, again, please pay attention to social media. We're going to have some yoga that'll be happening once a week. I believe this is going to be free. Don't quote me for sure if this one is free or if there's a minimal charge, but it's going to be happening on and around the Macro D stage. So keep an eye on social media for that. We heard from Mr. Andy Sellers. I didn't have any particular questions or issues for him. And so we moved on to resolution. So the first one was a resolution. It's a cooperative endeavor agreement. And for those of you who've listened to this video for some time, you know we've beaten cooperative endeavor agreements to death. It was the whole thing around Carencro Park, around KSI. We've talked about it with war chiefs and many, many others. In fact, there's another one on this agenda. It's a very common thing that we do. Governments engage in cooperative endeavor agreements all the time. And it's a legal document that lays out what is mutually beneficial for the citizens of Carencro and some other organization, be it a private organization or a nonprofit or whatever it is. Excuse me, I said War Chiefs. I meant to say C'est-Bon Seasoning Festival. Regardless, so what happened here is the Acadiana Cajuns is a youth sports organization, and they needed a place to practice, is the short of it. And so what normally happens is they would rent the fields from us, and that's fine, and they can rent them, and I believe they've done that many, many, many times over the years. However, they have the equipment and expertise to do some field work, and so the agreement that the mayor made is that they performed roughly at their cost, or roughly I think $40,000 or $50,000 of field work on 4 fields at Carencro Park. A lot of work was done there. You can go and see it. And in return for that, they will get priority scheduling on 2 of those 4 fields. They will still pay for those fields. They are not getting anything for free. We are trading them $40,000 of work on the fields for priority scheduling of 2 fields. I think this is an incredible win for the city of Carencro. We did not have the money in the budget to redo any fields at this time. We had done a bunch of other projects there. They were able to do the work at a premium because they have the equipment and the expertise. And so it worked out for everybody. I'm really proud of this one. I had nothing to do with it. The mayor and her team executed it, but I think it's great for the citizens to have nice fields, and really, I don't think it's at a big cost to us. So great thing there. The next resolution was passed also unanimously, and this was for grant management. This is a company, from what I'm hearing from others in government, this is a very reputable company called Royal Engineers. They go out and secure grants. And the standard way that they do it is that they put their fee of grant management in the grant. So it doesn't actually cost the city of Carencro anything. Their fee will come from the grant that they secure. There are some grants, and Councilwoman Taylor James astutely noted in the contract that it doesn't say that. And the mayor did say that there are some grants that it is not permissible to do that, and we would have to pay if we want to go down that process. But they will come to us, and they will not spend or expend any money without talking to us first. So I'm very comfortable that this is to get the groundwork done for grant management. You know, securing these grants is a big, big deal. It's a full-time job. It takes a lot of expertise. And so I think this is kind of the way of the future. And so we'll see what happens. The next is for firefighting services. Again, this is another cooperative endeavor agreement. They happen all the time. This is between the city of Lafayette and the city of Carencro for firefighting. As I alluded to earlier, the city's fire department, Carencro Fire Department, responds to calls in the parish. The unincorporated areas do not have a fire department. There is no fire department for the unincorporated areas of Carencro. The city's fire department takes that responsibility. And so the parish pays the city for those services. Now, look, I'll tell you, it doesn't cover all of the fees, but it is so much better than it was even 7 or 8 years ago. I really commend Mr. Brian Tabor with the parish council, and our fire chief, David Mouton, and the other municipal fire chiefs for getting this funding up. I think we're around 180,000 this year that we're going to get from the parish. When I started, I remember it being in the $40,000 range. And so all we're trying to do is make up the costs for gas and supplies and equipment and insurance that we pay. Like all of my immediate family lives in the parish outside of the city limits. And so, sure, I don't want our fire department to stop responding to them. But I also have a responsibility to the people who pay taxes in the city limits of Carencro, um, to to protect those funds and make sure we're not using them outside of this area. And a great analogy was made, and people in the parish will say, well, I go to Super One and Walmart and Sean Pines, and I fill up my gas at Chevron, and so I spend a lot of tax dollars. That's true, but you don't expect Chief David Anderson and the Carencro Police Department to go respond when your house has burglary, or you don't expect the city of Carencro Road Department to go patch your roads in the parish. The tax dollars that are spent in the city are expected to stay here. That's just how government works, whether it's property taxes or sales tax. And so that's a long explanation to say that Chief Mouton and many others have done a great job of making us whole. We're not there yet, but we're as close as we've ever been, and I'm very, very comfortable with the number that we're getting from Lafayette Parish. The next thing, I don't remember if we talked about a sewer betterment agreement or this particular one, but this is for the new gas station on University near Arsenault and Prejean Road. That person has to dig up and change out a sewer line as part of his plan and development. We firmly believe we're going to need a larger line than what is currently there. We're going to leverage our cost. He already has the equipment. He already is digging the hole. He already is making the tie-ins. We are going to pay the difference between, could be wrong on the sizes, but I believe it calls currently for a 4-inch line, and we're going to ask him to put a 6-inch. That may be incorrect in terms of numbers, but essentially that is it. And we're going to pay the difference between what his cost would have been and the larger line, which I think is $40,000. It sets us up for the future. It makes sure that when we need to upgrade that line, we don't have to tear up his driveway, replace all those things. So it will just be in the ground, not tied in, is my understanding, but it will be ready for the future. So I think that's great. We had a couple of introductory ordinances. So the first two were related to the budget. I have been involved in some budget discussions, and that was a courtesy from some of the administrative team because I've been so involved with the budget for many years. They allowed me to look at some of those numbers, which is certainly legal. Those are all public documents. And I have been critiquing those over the last couple of weeks. Started off, in fact, I met with the mayor months ago to kind of start getting the preliminary numbers, and we've been refining them, or she's been refining them with her team, and I have been providing comments. I will tell you the document was not ready, in my opinion, Monday anyway. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, the council was never given the most up-to-date budget. Whether it was right or wrong or correct or not in terms of completion of the budget, the council never received it. So we could not introduce it. And the mayor was unfortunately not aware that the council had not received it. It was her understanding that the budget had been provided to the council. It had not. So we had to table that. Subsequently, I've had some meetings about the budget again. It is a very active process. I'm spending many, many, many hours a week over the last couple of weeks, and I anticipate that to continue through early November to get the budget right. I'm not going to hound the budget tonight because it's a work in progress, and we tabled the introduction. So we're getting closer. Everybody is working in good faith. It's still not in a position, or I have not seen the budget in a posture that I'm comfortable with, but I do think all the interested parties agree in principle on what needs to happen. We just need to get those numbers put in. So it's happening. Everybody's working very, very hard. We're going to pass the budget. This is not the first time in this administration something similar has happened, nor in previous administrations. Budget time is always a crunch. The council always wants the budget long before the meetings. We always receive it right at, and there have been times when it's been requested we receive it after the meeting. So this is not super uncommon. It's unfortunate that we had a delay in the process, but I think we needed that delay to get the budget into a posture that the public and the council can be comfortable with. As such, this coming Monday, we will have a meeting to introduce the budget and to discuss it. So that will be happening. I will be sending out that agenda. Next, there was the traffic calming devices. Again, I don't remember. I don't think I sent out an email on this. The mayor's been talking for some times about speed bumps, in particular in neighborhoods. I've been against speed bumps for many, many years for many reasons, one of which is the data say they don't work. You can look it up. People speed twice as fast in between them to make up the time they think they lose. Then they slam on their brakes, go over the speed hump, and then slam the gas again. It has excessive wear and tear on our police department vehicles, fire department vehicles, ambulances, personal vehicles. They break frequently and have a high cost to replace them. For those reasons and others, I'm not in favor. The mayor and I get a lot of calls, but the mayor is trying to set up a reasonable system for those neighborhoods that really want it. And it requires a speed traffic study, a recommendation by the police department, and then a paper signed by 90% of the residents that they want it. And then the council will consider it. I just, you know, I'm not incredibly opposed. I think that process is about as good as you can make it. But I voted no. It did pass introduction 4-1. I was the only one who voted against, and I feel strongly against speed bumps, and so we'll see what happens. I'm sure it'll pass. It's not the end of the world, but we'll see. The next was in regard to, so I talked about this before. DesireLine has some short-term solutions to some of our most pressing issues in terms of development planning. So this essentially allows what they call a family compound. One problem we're having is somebody wants to divide their land for their family, and that triggers neighborhood. I'm making air quotes. It requires them to fully come into compliance with neighborhoods, meaning closing in all the ditches, drainage analysis, sidewalks, infrastructure, when really all they're trying to do is pass off their property to their kids. The first part of this, what it allows is you do not have to divide your property. You could put multiple houses of the same family members on one piece. It's not a perfect solution, and I know that. I know some of you are going to email me and tell me why that's not going to work for your situation. I know it is not a perfect solution, but it is the first step on a road. It's a temporary solution on a road to a more permanent solution. The second thing was in regard to sidewalks. I thought it was a great solution. As of now, whenever you subdivide the property, you are required to place sidewalks. Going forward, you are going to be required to place the sidewalks when you are ready to develop. So if the family divides a piece of property into 5, gives it to each kid, you don't have to put the sidewalks until the kids are ready to build. And I think that's very, very helpful. So the next item we passed, but it's still not correct. It's the final item on the agenda. Oh, no, there's a few more, but it's the final introductory item. And so it's in regard to, we've talked about it many times. For people who have backflow water preventers, it will allow the city to go and inspect those backflow preventers and charge the customer. As we do it now, the customer pays it and sends us the paperwork, and it is a gigantic mess. We had a lot of discussion about it. I think it's a relatively simple thing and a great idea. I'm not going to belabor it here. If you have a backflow preventer and you are unsure what's happening or you're concerned, just email me. I'll talk to you more in depth, but not a lot of people have them, and I don't think it affects a lot of people, and so I don't want to belabor the point. We had 3 ordinances for final adoption. We adopted all of them unanimously. I've talked about them all before. I'll go through them quickly. Gross litter. Thank you, Danielle Caprito. Another littering ordinance. Thank you, Danielle Caprito. And then the next 2 were in regard to the sewer plan in terms of the bonds. I have looked over all those. I am happy with them. I am absolutely certain we can pay for them. from the 2016 sales tax. And so I think a lot of work, again, has done. Mayor Brasso started this many, many, many years ago. He had incredible foresight to see the needs of our sewer plant, many other projects, but in this case, sewer, and to get this ball rolling. And then Mayor Clavier came in and took this over, and continued it down the path, and here we are. So that's it for now. Thanks for listening. Again, a little bit longer, but I think still shorter than if I had done two videos. Please email me if you have any questions.